Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro Adventures. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got a very clear win for Battle for the Golden Sun. Now I'm tiptoeing way around that title because I keep either adding or taking away a the. So I call it The Battle for the Golden Sun or just Battle for Golden Sun. But I got it right that time. Now as usual I'll cover that on the desktop in a wee second and I'll be back at the end of the video with some other poll related stuff and some other channel related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment talking about my Patreons, who this week I have been advised have really manageable hair, which must be wonderful because I spend most of my time looking like I was dragged through a hedge backwards. But these guys really help the channel out and make all of this possible by supporting me. Now if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, or you'd like to gain access to these videos a week early, or you'd like one of the other levels, like becoming a real honest-to-goodness Fate Laird of Scotland, then the Patreon's in the description down below. If you check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But let's have a look at Battle for the Golden Sun. So, this is a Battle for the Golden Sun. It's for the Star Wars role-playing game. It came out from West End Games in 1988. Now, I've got an admission to make. I bought this second hand, so it's pre-marked up. There's some writing in here from whoever games mastered it before. You can tell it's not my writing because it's a lot neater. But this was incomplete when I bought it. There's some handouts in the middle torn out, which I'll go over separately. I've got a PDF version, which I'll show off those when we reach them. And I'm missing the Imperial garrison plans. However, looking at what they were, they're exactly the same as the Imperial garrison plans, which were printed in the Imperial sourcebook. So it's a replication of material, which is something the Star Wars role-playing game was actually pretty bad for. They did like repeating things over and over. Anyway, on an unexplored water planet, warring natives, a missing Alliance dignitary, Imperial shock troopers, and rebel agents become entangled in the mystery of the Golden Sun. So let's have a look at the back cover. Battle for the Golden Sun by Douglas Kaufman. A navigational accident has led the Empire to the mysterious and legendary water world of Sedri. Rebel spy networks carry troubling tales back to Alliance High Command. Rumours that the Sedri hold the secret to the Golden Sun, a secret that could give the Empire the power to crush the rebellion once and for all. An Alliance dignitary, young and impetuous, disappeared while checking on these disturbing rumours. Now a special team of rebel agents volunteer to undertake a desperate mission. Guided by a half-sane Mon Calamari, they must make their way to Sedri, locate the missing dignitary, avoid Imperial entanglements, solve the mystery of the Golden Sun. If the rumours prove even partially true, then this band of rebels is all that stands between the Empire and total control of the galaxy. It's a 40-page booklet with an exciting script with a part for each player, detailed descriptions and maps of an underwater village and the mysterious sun caves of Sedri, background information on a new race of sea dwellers from the planet Sedri, a pull-out section full of colourful non-player character templates for an added dimension in role-playing excitement, poster-sized full-colour map of the Imperial sea garrison, extensive guidelines to help games masters make their adventures fast-moving, challenging, and fun. Inside, well, West End Games had their own style. It was a bit cartoony, but I thought it caught the movies very nicely. I did like the art style very much. And the hint comes here why this adventure perhaps isn't as popular as some of the others. Because this is an aquatic adventure. It's set on a sea planet, on a water world, and it's going to be underwater virtually all the time. Now, I do like the idea of them bringing in the aquatic AT-ATs, modified ones which have repellers so they can move through water. Very nice indeed. The setup of the adventure is that this planet that it's going to be set on has the Golden Sun on it, and this makes it look to hyperdrives like a star. Makes it look like a golden sun. And that means that hyperdrives refuse to engage when people are travelling to the planet, because they think they're about to plough into the heart of a star. But an Imperial convoy, one of their ships had a hyperdrive malfunction, and it emerged in orbit around the planet. So the Empire discovered it. Now they've tried exploiting it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes overcoming the safety lockouts on the hyperdrive to replicate the accident does mean that the ships plough their way into the planet or get lost or destroyed. but they've managed to land a small expeditionary force. The rebel players hear about this because an agent went there and their companion returns half-sane. So they need to follow advice from this half-sane Mon Calamari. So, in this adventure, a group of rebels must travel to the Sedri system to rescue a missing Alliance dignitary and discover the secret of the mysterious Golden Sun. Whatever Golden Sun is, be it a blazing star or alien device, the Alliance fears it can be turned into an awesome weapon for the Empire's diabolic hands. Well, it turns out it's a kind of material, and if the Empire puts it on their Star Destroyers, it'd act like a massive interdiction field. Other vessels wouldn't be able to use hyperdrives around them, so nobody would be able to escape. The vessels themselves wouldn't be detectable because there'd be this massive aura of a star around them. It would be incredibly powerful upgrade for Imperial vessels. We've got a thing about game difficulty numbers, game balance, the adventure background. Somewhere in the void lies the water world of Sedri, virtually inaccessible to the hyperdrive-dependent technology of the Old Republic and later the Empire. Recent events. The Imperials, while intrigued by their scouts' reports, were understandably reluctant to disengage the hyperdrive inhibitors before making jumps to the Sedri system. Unwilling to risk ships or large amounts of material, they authorized only a small expeditions to Sedri, which is why the Empire and the Rebel forces here are going to be better balanced. You don't have the awesome might of a Star Destroyer to go up against, where they're going to be able to field, hundreds of TIE fighters, thousands of stormtroopers. There is only a small expeditionary force, and they have only a single of these aquatic walkers. So, while the Empire is more powerful than the players, it's not overwhelming, as it often is. The situation is a lot more balanced. So, we've got the synopsis. The main NPCs: Karak, a renegade Sedrian. Cardo, High Priest of Fitze. Peck, High Priest Cardo's son. Fala, Karak's daughter. Rakara. Important part of this adventure, she accompanies PCs to Sedri and provides hints during the course of the story. She is suffering from shock caused by the death of the coral she carries with her. The death screams of the living polyps still echo deep within Rakara's soul. And we've got Commander Aban and his sea troopers. Aban has orders to get the Imperial garrison constructed and running as quickly as possible. His problem is that he's understaffed, undersupplied, virtually cut off from the rest of the Empire, and under pressure to secure the Golden Sun without delay. He does have a platoon of special aquatic stormtroopers, the sea troopers, to provide the muscle he'll need. So we've got this beginning where the players will end up crashing on the planet. One awful second you're sure you're going to die, then an alarm starts whooping somewhere, and you drop out of hyperspace. You do not instantly disintegrate. Your ship starts plunging towards the planet's surface. So they've made the hyperspace jump there, but their ship's damaged and they're going to crash. After the plunge, so it goes through the introduction, their first clash, the sea troopers encounter them. Rakara clutches a small rock in her hand, so the coral that she's found, which is going to be a clue later on. They start to meet the Sedrians. Have everyone make a language roll. They can start to understand the language, because these are totally different. Well, it's got a section here, Battles, Honour in the Sea, talking about how lightsabers don't work well underwater, which is kind of odd, because we've seen them elsewhere working very well. Even going back way before this was printed, to the Splinter of the Mind's Eye novel, Luke uses his lightsaber underwater, but West End Games decided not. Uses swimming codes for movement and dodging. Grenade goes off, it does 40 damage to everyone within its entire range. Blasters are not as effective. Difficulties increased by 1 level. Bottom scene is usually covered with fine silt. Anyone runs his propulsion unit close to the sea bottom creates a cloud to hide in. We've got the city of Fitze, where they encounter the Sedrians and they're introduced to their culture. We've got information on stun, because this is a very early adventure, so it's kind of teaching the games master how to run the game. The Great Shell Dome, talking about areas of it. My father has forbidden me from talking to the fish killer's floating shell, but I must do what is right. Let's go find your friend. We've got the Imperial base, so a standard garrison base. Talking about blast doors, docking stations, getting inside the fence, inside the garrison, all the areas, connecting pools, because instead of having land ingress and egress sections, they've got water pools. It's basically converting the standard Imperial garrison base somewhat. The level 1, 2 and 3. Now at this point we will go over to a section that I shot earlier, showing off the pullout section. So this is the pullout section that's missing from my physical copy. So the first page of it is the Battle of the Golden Sun adventure script. Now this is a fantastic idea for the old Star Wars role-playing game, which I'm surprised no other role-playing games really do, in that it gives out a script for your players to read through, and you allocate them out. There's first rebel, second rebel, GM as Rakara, third rebel, fourth rebel, fifth rebel, sixth rebel. Now if you don't have 6 players, then you reallocate them out, so and so will be playing 1 and 4, 2 and 3, etc. You just group them out as you want. Hopefully so no 2 rebels are speaking to themselves. But it really gives a lot of background information, does a big information dump on the players while they're doing something, and gets you straight into the action, much like the movies did. Fantastic idea, as I said, very surprised no other role-playing games really mimic it. Carrying on, we've got a map of the city of Fitsay, a map of the Coral Caves along with the keys for those. And the next section is to be cut up, I suppose, because on one side it's got the Spaceboat Explorer, Sedri and Priest Peck, a chaotic Jedi, Commander Aban and his Sea Troopers, descriptions and their stats. And on the flip side we've got the stats for the Spaceboat Explorer, and we've got Renegade Leader Karak and Rakara, the Mon Cal, who kicks all this off. And that's the 4 pages which are missing from my copy. Now back to the physical book. And we continue through the levels. So we'd looked at garrison levels 2 and 3, we're on to 4 and 5 here. Now one element of this which is far better than the Imperial sourcebook is it's way more detailed. So as well as detailing things for the adventure where they find out information, Mors Odrin, no one in the base knows anything about the Alliance dignitary. The officers confirm he is not in the base at all. All the information they can find out. It details the layout of the garrison base. The version in the Imperial sourcebook tells us that it has garrisons, it has armory, it has training areas, etc. But this tells you exactly where they are. So as they battle their way through fighting stormtroopers, on levels 4 and 5 they'll encounter armories, training and recreation, security barracks, base security. When they reach garrison levels 6 and above, there's computer rooms, meeting rooms, offices, base control room. And higher levels has the TIE Fighter hangar deck. Not yet complete, it nevertheless holds 10 TIE Fighters in the ceiling racks. And they can access the monitoring system and see a conference between Commander Aban in conference with the Sedri and Karak. So are my terms acceptable, Commander Aban? They are. The attack begins in 3 days. So the players now know that the Empire is about to attack one of the Sedrian settlements. A supply shuttle arrives and the players can escape from the garrison base they've just broken into. In this episode, the PCs meet Karak's renegades as they defend Fitsay and the Great Shell Dome from a raid by Karak's followers. There's only one hitch, Odrin isn't there. So they return to the settlement and they prepare for an attack. There's different things about the sun caves. What is the Golden Sun? They actually find out. So the Golden Sun is a living, intelligent organism made up of 1,000 silent polyps. These polyps live within a coral reef and have a communal consciousness. They are attuned to the Force. Force users attempt communication or analysis of the caves do detect life, actually lots of life. Golden Sun coral has an affinity to the Force. So the rebels, generally being more Force attuned than most people, will have a better chance of communicating with it. Renegade prisoner. We go through Karak's settlement, talking with Fala, all the things preparing for an Imperial attack. They can convince Farah to let them see Mos Odrian. They'll be accompanied by many nervous guards to a sturdy hut. And then finally we get the Imperial attack. So we're building up to the climax. So we've got attack by sea troopers and an aquatic AT-AT. Battle begins, the Imperial swimmer. Now it goes into a lot of detail, what the players will do during the battle.
but most especially them fighting the swimmer. So while the Sedrians are defending their settlement and fighting stormtroopers, the heroes are going to be the ones who go and take out this massive vessel of war, this aquatic AT-AT, loaded down with turrets and weapons, and it gives you various ways how to approach it, take out the laser batteries, the repulsor field, the access hatch, destroying the swimmer, what happens when it explodes. But then it leads on to a siege of the Sun Caves. And you need to go into the Sun Caves. It talks through the entrance, using the map shown in the pullouts. It details what all the sections are. Until they eventually face Carrack, who is keeping the rebel dignitary prisoner. So they will fight him to free Mors Odrian. It talks through his tactics until PC sees a vision. The golden song becomes louder, more intense. Your vision is filled with bright colours. Thousands of voices, yet full of purpose, sing to you of a world bound together by peace and sharing. A very light side thing. And the coral hears your decision, and suddenly the caves explode with light. The reef is scattered to the far seas, and the oceans sing with the power of the golden sun. Darkness falls away, and all your wounds are healed. You feel the coral reach out to touch the many minds who have died, and the golden sun fades to a constant but much weaker presence, at one with the planet. And the ruins of the reef swings Carrack, no longer full of power, but still dangerous. Until eventually we've got the summing up, the Imperial defeat, cutaway. We suspect rebels aided the natives, and the strange golden sun effect has weakened. The gravity emanations have vanished. I will need more. No, Commander, no more. Make do with what you have. Aban turns away from the hollow projector and stares out the transparent steel porthole. On a small atoll stands two Sedrians, looking at the Imperial base. They stand defiantly, bellowing into the wind, then dive beneath the golden waves. Fade to credits and closing theme. Now, I can see why this wasn't as popular as many of the other Star Wars adventures. It's an aquatic adventure, which is never really popular. I don't think people like swimming around all the time. But it's got a bunch of nice ideas in here. I like the way it balances the Empire while still being very, very powerful. They are not absolutely undefeatable. It is just an expeditionary force. Now, they've only got 10 TIE fighters. Now, while that's a lot, you know that if you're taking out a TIE fighter, you are reducing their powers vastly. And they've only got one aquatic swimmer, the aquatic version of the AT-AT, which means that the Empire is far less powerful here than normal, and the rebels have a chance of defeating them before they get established.
So that was Battle for the Golden Sun, and that won the poll this week with some 35% of the vote. Ahead of everything else, but it wasn't winning for the entire week, because the second place, Valley of the Mist for Bushido, which came in on 25% eventually, was ahead at one point. But for most of the week it was fairly obvious that Star Wars was going to win. And since I'm still games mastering Star Wars all these years later and still creating stuff for it, I absolutely adored covering it. So thank you for letting it win. In third place on 19% was K for Dawn for 2300 AD. In fourth place was Scared Stiffs for the Ghostbusters role-playing game on 15%, which I would have loved to have covered because I'm actually thinking about games mastering it for my regular group. Because I'm going to start running through, instead of running long campaigns, I'm going to run one-shots in lots of different settings, just to try out lots of different games to see what they're like. And in last place came San Francisco Knights for Cyborg Commando. Obviously, Cyborg Commando I've slagged off a lot in the past, but I would have loved to have had a look through the adventure, but alas, not this time. So, they're all cleared out, and we're going back to a retro RPG poll. But one's going to be slightly different, because I covered Palace of the Vampire Queen a few weeks ago, and I absolutely loved going through it. It was the first independently published role-playing game adventure ever. But it wasn't the first published adventure, because that was the adventure that was bundled with the Blackmoor setting called Temple of the Frog. And I'd love to have a look through it. So first off in the poll this week, we've got Supplement 2 Blackmoor, which came out in 1975. Now, I think this is the campaign setting, but from what I've heard, there's a bunch of rules additions. So it'd be lovely to have a look through and see what a supplement looked like, and the very first published adventure from 1975. But we'll see if it wins. Next up, we've got another PDF review, because that would be a PDF, because actually I don't own a physical copy, would be the Games Master Pack for Price of Freedom. Now, I absolutely adore Price of Freedom. It's one of my favourite role-playing games because it doesn't take itself too seriously. While it's a Red Dawn type setup, the Soviets have invaded America and Americans are fighting for their freedom, it doesn't take itself seriously. It's got its tongue firmly in its cheek. And I'd love to have a look at one of the supplements. Obviously, I bought the box set as a gift for myself. It's sitting up on one of the shelves behind me, a big red box. Absolutely fabulous stuff. But did the supplements keep up the same standard? We shall see if it wins. And the rest are just books which are on my shelves. So we've got Rift's World Book 4 for Africa. Now, this I remember buying. It's the standard mix of high-tech sort of powered armour and vehicles along with supernatural things that Rifts combines so well. But I don't really remember much about it, I'm afraid. I remember picking it up, but I think I probably only skimmed through it at the time. After that, we've got Capital, Pride and Profit for Mutant Chronicles. Now this is the cyberpunk type game where demons are trying to invade the solar system and the corporations are working together to protect the solar system but also profit out of it. And this is a book about one of those massive corporations. It's a fun setting and again I would love covering it. And finally we've got The Last Crusaders for Deadlands Hell on Earth. Now this is the post-apocalyptic cowboy game with magic and all that thrown in. It's massive fun and I really like the game. So it'd be lovely to return to it because it's been a long time since I've covered any Hell on Earth content. Over on RPG Gamer, well, we've worked our way through the Ahsoka series now, the last episode's out. So I'm now going to be statting out all of those episodes, going through all the NPCs, ships, etc. Now we know exactly what they're all like. The past few weeks I've been covering some Young Jedi Adventures stuff. It's been kind of fun, but this is the meat of the site where I'm really adding to content. Now, as always, I appreciate feedback on these, so if you're into the Star Wars D6 system, please come over to rpggamer.org and check out what I'm adding, because comments lead to me changing what I put up. These are only my opinions of what the stats would be like, and I'm not an expert, although I've been doing stats for 20 years now. This isn't my job, and other people's opinions are very much appreciated. So come on over, comment on stuff, and let me know whether you think these things should be slightly different, or radically different. Offer up your own versions. It's very much appreciated. And over on DriveThruRPG, well, it turns out I've been a bad boy. Because while I thought that Wizards of the Coast were the ones who are very restrictive with their licensing agreement, making you put OGL statements in the back of the book, it turns out there is no such agreement at all with Cyberpunk, Shadowrun and Call of Cthulhu. You are just not allowed to publish stat blocks for those and sell them. So I've had to withdraw all of those books because I'd done that, and that's copyright, breach of copyright, and is not allowed. So I've withdrawn all those books, except obviously for Patreons of Librarian and Laird status, who'll still be able to access them over on the shared Google Drive that they get access to. Now, I might be reworking the modern horror stuff to be using the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules, the D20 system, because you could play modern horror in that, so I might get some repurposing out of some of these books. But the Shadowrun and the Cyberpunk stat blocks and books with stat blocks are just gone now, apart from patrons, as I said. But anyway, I think I've been waffling on for quite long enough, as usual, so thank you very much for watching. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.